Hi, my name is Bailey Sutton, and I'm a part of the BA 513 class. We were given an assignment to discuss the coronavirus and give a pitch. My pitch relates to state policy and world impact in controlling the coronavirus outbreak. Through the ongoing pandemic, state governors have enacted policies in attempts to slow down states' growth, but as we all know, all states do things differently, and I just wanted to look at more in depth as to how it's had an impact on the world, and then dig a little deeper into the state, and even compare two states specifically. So I decided to go over four questions, I guess four question groups. The first question was, how does the number of coronavirus cases and deaths compare in each country? Does any specific country jump out to you? Why is this? The second, how does the number of coronavirus cases and deaths compare in each state? Does any specific state seem alarming to you? Why is this? Compare two states of Illinois and Kentucky. Describe the relationship. Which state has higher cases? Which state has higher deaths? Why does Kentucky have less cases and deaths than Illinois? The reason I chose specifically Kentucky and Illinois is because I have friends at school who are from Illinois, and I'm from Kentucky myself. So it just seemed that we have found ourselves talking about the coronavirus and how their state's doing it versus ours. And also, we're border states. So I figured I might dig into that and see maybe if Tableau could possibly, with the data, give us more insight as to why their cases are the way they are versus ours and deaths, etc. So, number one, how does the number of coronavirus cases and deaths compare in each country? Does any specific country jump out to you? Why is this? So the second thing right here, this is just a COVID-19 tracker dashboard. I added this because I wanted people to have an interactive thing to where you could click positive deaths, cases, and you could see which state or which country is doing worse than others and things of that nature. So the second thing is a custom map chart that I made. It displays the amount of positive corona cases in each country. I created this and I decided to highlight the top three: America, uh, the United States, Brazil, and India. Those three by far had the most cases. As you can see, they had the most cases and most deaths. The positive people count was a little over 250 million for the United States. Excuse me. For Brazil, it was a little about 102 million, and for India, it was roughly 49 million. Then I decided to break it down a little more broad, I guess, and to give you an option to see which continents specifically had more cases. America, as you can see, had more cases than any other continent in North America, that is, and Asia was a close second. These death numbers actually end up being roughly about the same. America being first, Asia is actually second in deaths per last day, but overall deaths, Europe actually takes the most deaths. Um, America has over 190,000 or about 190,000 more deaths than Europe, which is an alarming number, and it's actually really high. Although America has more deaths, Europe actually has a higher fatality rate. Europe has a 7.01 fatality rate, while North America has a 3.76 fatality rate. You could argue that that's because, you know, Europe may have had less tests and only like the people who are really hurting got those tests, and maybe America is testing a little bit more. But I found those numbers a little bit alarming that Europe's fatality rate was almost double of what America's was. So this leads us into question number two. So after looking at a large scale, I wanted to look at each state. So question number two, how does the number of coronavirus cases and deaths compare in each state? Does any specific state seem alarming to you? Why is this? So I made another interactive map. Actually, this is just the COVID-19 tracker dashboard. This is just another interactive dashboard that can give you a little bit of everything on one thing. And then I decided to make another interactive map, which this map shows uh, which states have higher cases, and it appears that the states with the highest number of cases include California, Florida, Texas, New York, New Jersey, and Illinois. The top three of those, California, Florida, and Texas, are over double the number of positive cases compared to any other state. If you look right here, positive people count 200 and or 20 million. I'm sorry. Texas 15 million, Florida 15 million. So that is a ton of cases, and it's kind of a staggering amount. Then I decided to look at um, which states had the highest deaths, and I found that pretty crazy because New Jersey actually jumped to the top of this. New Jersey had, I think it was 15,836 specifically deaths, which is more than California, who's second, and they had 9,399. So New Jersey, California, New York, Massachusetts, and Illinois all had very high fatality rate, or had a very high number of deaths, and the highest fatality rate of all those was New Jersey, which at this time currently is 8.6, which, keep in mind, this data is constantly changing with an ongoing pandemic, but for what the data we are looking at right now, as of August 2nd, 2020, New Jersey comes in with the highest fatality rate of 8.6. These numbers were honestly very high and very intriguing. So after looking at the top percent of each state, I noticed that Illinois was on the highest deaths. And like I said before, my friend is from Illinois, or two of my friends are from Illinois, and it's a border state of Kentucky. And I just wanted to dig in a little bit deeper and see as to why Illinois and Kentucky were doing different in the coronavirus, even though they're very close. So that leads me to number 3. Compare those two states of Illinois and Kentucky. Describe their relationship. Which state has higher cases? Which state has higher deaths? Illinois versus Kentucky state comparison of positive tests. So what this is a line chart. As of August 2nd, 2020, Illinois positive test count surpasses Kentucky's tremendously. Illinois has reached the 500,000 mark. If you look right here, they have reached 500,733, while Kentucky is still around 60,000, 61,123 exactly. So these numbers are rapidly growing apart, which is a little nerve-wracking for Illinois because they're not doing as well as Kentucky is. This may be because of, some of more tests have been done, or there's a lot of extra reasons. But from just the sole data that we've had to look at, it seems that Illinois has had a lot worse with the coronavirus than Kentucky has. So this just shows the new cases. So as of the most recent day, positive cases, and I just wanted to point out that Kentucky had 354 cases. If you look down here, 354. I also have an annotation up top where you can look. While Illinois over here had 1,430, which is roughly 4 times the amount that Kentucky had. And I just wanted to point this out because this shows that another reason that these numbers are growing apart, that is Kentucky and Illinois' case count. The reason that those are growing apart is because Illinois each day is having 4 times more of what Kentucky's have. So these numbers are continuing to split. And then this goes into question number 4. So this question is, why does Kentucky have less cases and deaths than Illinois? So with the data that we were given, there was a lot of stuff that we could look at and compare and create a lot of good information about, but I decided to go out of my way to see if I could get some more information and just see if I can pull in some more data in order to further look at each state. And I figured that maybe the governors had enacted policies and done different things that may have allowed Kentucky or Illinois to have worse or less cases. So I did a little research, and I found from the KFF a database titled State Data and Policy Actions to Address the Coronavirus. This is a daily updated database with information pertaining to the coronavirus, specifically for the United States. I specifically wanted to focus on Illinois and Kentucky, and I wanted to go about it in four main ways. I wanted to look at the face covering requirements. I wanted to look at bar reopenings. I wanted to look at restaurant capacities. I wanted to look at large gathering restrictions. And like I said before, all these are as of August 2nd, 2020. As far as I know, they're all changing as I speak, but as of August 2nd, 2020, this is the data that's the newest and most relevant. So this first chart shows you the face covering requirements. So I created a chart just to show each state and what they're doing in order to contain the coronavirus. So if you look, Kentucky and Illinois both require, for the general public, they require some sort of face covering. So after doing this, my analysis, I realized that the coronavirus, maybe the face coverings is not the main issue, even though some people will do it, some people don't. I know it's like really hard for the governors to have actually get people to do that, but I looked into that, and at least there are rules and guidelines set in place to where that is kind of a non-factor in which one's doing worse. So bar reopenings. This above shows that Kentucky has newly closed their bars and Illinois has reopened their bars. This is kind of a big thing because I know specifically in Bowling Green and Western, a lot of the corona outbreak has been through bars and through just being out. So I wanted to see if bars in general had any impact on the state. So Kentucky is newly closed. They don't have bars open technically right now. I know there's some bars that have outdoor seating, but no actual, bars and late night activity, whereas Illinois seems to still have that open. And then going forward, restaurant limits. The next thing I wanted to look into was restaurant limits and see as to why each restaurant or why each state has certain restaurant limits and see if that has any effect on possibly the number of outbreak. Kentucky has new service limits, and Illinois has reopened to dine-in service with specific limited capacity. So what this is for Kentucky, basically Illinois has restaurants opened, but there's a limited capacity and limited seating. Kentucky's is they have new service limits, which just means it's a rollback of the initial restaurant restrictions, which include limited seating, limited menus, limited hours. So it's a lot more strict here in Kentucky than it is in Illinois in terms of those restaurants. The last one was large gatherings, and I know large gatherings doesn't necessarily mean parties. It could mean people at convention centers, work, just things where people are together in a large number. This shows that Kentucky has enacted a new limit on large gatherings, and Illinois has expanded to a new limit above 25. So the way that this database was written, they grouped certain categories into the expanded. Excuse me, but they put categories such as the expanded, which is over 25 means that Illinois was under 25, but now they're allowing a little bit larger groups, and they're starting to reopen in that matter. And Kentucky has a new limit on indoor gatherings to a small number of people. Outdoor gatherings, are a little bit larger than the indoor gatherings just because it's a little safer. But Kentucky actually has one of the lowest indoor limits amongst all states. So after reviewing those four things specifically, I know that there's a lot of different things that go into it, but it was interesting to see how Kentucky, maybe one of the reasons that they have less cases is because some of the policies that they have enacted are a little more strict and they're a little more reserved than those of Illinois. Illinois actually has a little more open stuff. I know there's more people. They have 12 million people. Kentucky has roughly 4.9 million people, but Kentucky actually has more strict requirements, even though there's less people. And I think that is another reason that the coronavirus has been a little bit more well maintained. And after looking at this, I found it very interesting that Kentucky versus Illinois. I found it very interesting to look at different states and different countries. I thought the project all in all was a very influential for me. I learned a lot, and I think that it's very important to continue to learn. And I think that if we keep going with this data and keep, trying to find new ways to analyze how the coronavirus has impacted the world, I think that, hopefully here in the future we can get some sort of, a slowdown and maybe stop it and life can go back to normal. But anyways, that is all I have. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.